Tom Lee just said one of the biggest moments in the market is coming up in about 3 hours. I'm not kidding with you either. This is going to be one of the most important things for the stock market and for the crypto market in the near future. I want to play that clip for you. Also, we have Bitcoin setting some slightly higher highs and some higher lows right now. I want to give you some of the news that's surrounding Bitcoin, what you can look forward to in the near to medium future. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this. If you want to trade crypto, check out the link underneath the video to BYDeFi. You can start trading in just a few minutes. We have this trading competition going on right now, and the prize pool is $25,000. It goes up over time because it goes up $100 with every million in volume that's traded by anyone that's ever signed up through one of my links. We're also giving away Samsung earbuds, but more importantly, you can get access to leverage, and if you use this correctly, you can make significant amounts of money, even more than you would be able to spot buying, especially if you can, not get too greedy. We've been able to make life-changing amounts of money through this cycle. Now, as we see Bitcoin moving to a slightly higher high today, 112,600. So after 112,300 yesterday, we're setting some higher lows as well. I think this looks bullish. When you look at the liquidations too, it's more on the short side than the long side, which makes sense because there are a lot more shorts that are piled up than longs at this point. As you can see, the current price being right around 112,000. If we move up just $3,000, we'd have $5.1 billion worth of shorts liquidated. If we move down $3,000, we would only see about $1.1 billion worth of longs liquidated. And that's because we just wiped out a lot of long positions, a lot of aggressively long positions over the last couple days. We do have some inflows from the ETFs as well. Bitcoin ETFs had a inflow day, kind of small, but 88.1 million. And then the Ethereum ETFs had 455 million. As we can see, so many entities going risk on, going into that Ethereum type trade, or that, buying Ethereum ETFs. That's not to say that there aren't a lot of companies buying Bitcoin. The ETFs kind of have to do with hedge funds and money managers, while public companies continue to aggressively buy Bitcoin. Public company Kindly, I think it's Kindly, not Kindly, Kindly MD, to raise $5 billion to buy more Bitcoin. That's a lot of Bitcoin. We have Tom Lee continuously buying too. SharpLink bought, I think, $250 million they announced yesterday. Tom Lee just said that Ethereum could hit 5,500 in the near term, and at the year end, $10,000 to $12,000. I'll play this for you in just a second, but 5,500 would be 10% above the recent high that we just saw in the last week, and it would be, a 20% move from here? So you start looking at that's a really impressive gain in a short period of time. And a lot of people are bearish right now too. So this would blow a lot of short positions. Let me play this though for you.
Ethereum and the S&P 500 and your logic for those two.
Yeah, I think Ethereum, in the near term, 5,500 should be happening in the next couple of weeks. But by the end of the year, I think it should be closer to 10 to 12,000 for ETH. But it's because, most of the move in crypto does come in the fourth quarter. So if you're up 35% year to date, well, if you're going to be up 200%, it's going to all happen in the next few months. And for the S&P, if the Fed follows through and begins to cut, which is our expectation, and then we get a drop in mortgage rates and the ISM turning up, and therefore financials really begin to participate, I think that's why we get to 6,800 or so on the S&P. So still a lot of upside. Of course, as you know, September is the month everyone's going to be worried about. So that's a month where you might get a pullback, but you need to be buying that tip.
So the seasonal weakness in September, you would say, would just be another opportunity.
Yes, that's right. And, as you know, every pullback, everyone has been ringing the bell saying it's the top. That has always been a dip buying opportunity since 2022. So I just say keep that in mind, that you really should be buying a dip.
So buy the dip. He says we could hit 5,500 near term on Ethereum, 10 to 12,000 end of year. He says the S&P 500, maybe we could hit 6,800, which he says is a lot of upside. But honestly, that's only about 5%. Now, that's not a small amount in that period of time, to be clear, because typically the S&P 500 goes up 10% a year. We're talking about 5% in basically one quarter. But you compare that to Ethereum, he's talking about doubling, almost 2.5xing Ethereum in that same period of time. So that's why he's so bullish on Ethereum. And he just actually spoke longer about what's happening today in about 3 hours. I'll play this for you and we'll give some commentary on it too.
It takes us to our talk of the tape, the next leg of this record-setting rally. It's clear where our headliner stands on that topic. He's bullish, as you know. He is FundStrat's Tom Lee. Joins us now at Post 9. It's good to see you.
Great to see you, Scott.
So Nvidia looms large. Does that make or break whether your bullishness comes to fruition moving forward?
I mean, I know
If you don't know what they're talking about, Nvidia has earnings in 3 hours, the largest company in the world that's driving a lot of the innovation, where most big tech companies are spending their money and spending a lot of their capex at Nvidia. So this will give us an indication for whether the AI trade is still on.
investors are really anxious, and Nvidia has not performed well the last few times it's reported. But the story arc there remains that is one of the most important companies in the world in the middle of the biggest structural change in the world economy. So I think Nvidia still is a great story. It really wouldn't change our thesis if the stock reacted poorly.
You feel like there's become a little more AI anxiety, as we wrote at the top. You know, from Sam Altman at OpenAI saying that, you know, investors are a little overeager about AI. You know, Meta's reorganized again. They've stopped their hiring. There was another report today that suggested some of these Gen AI models, AI models are failing. You think there's anxiety in this market about this trade?
Well, I think everyone's trying to get situational awareness. Like, is this inning 1 or 2 or late innings? Because we know there's been a lot of value creation and a lot of capital that's flowed in. And we know that Silicon Valley has seen a boom of companies with $100 million annual run rates, like in record time around AI. And a lot of people want to ring the bell at the top. But to me, it still feels really early because there's such a limited number of stocks that public investors can buy that represent a direct play on AI.
I know, but that could lead to bubble-like activity, right? When your pool of investable opportunities remains so small, all of this money rushes to a select few, and then they have to live up to all of that hype and give a great return on these hundreds of billions of dollars that are being invested. That's not a risk?
Well, it is a risk. I guess that's really the next stage of what we have to see is how does the market accept now adding to the roster of direct AI plays, you know, beyond just Figment. And I think, you know, if we look at the next 12 months, there'll be a bevy of IPOs, some really...
You can almost liken this to what's happening in crypto too. There are some crypto IPOs and so much money is flooding into them because there aren't a lot of ways to invest in crypto besides buying cryptos, right? Like there aren't a lot of companies you can invest in outside of maybe the Bitcoin miners and 1 or 2 exchanges. There aren't a lot of companies that have direct plays on crypto, like, you know, the Circle IPO recently.
Big companies that are later stage, but if they're bought and they produce good growth and their stocks perform well, I would still say that still means we're early innings.
That's still your favorite trade?
I think it's the most important trade. Yeah,
I know it's the most important. I feel like that's legit. But is it?
I think there's a bigger upside in the owning financials right now. Because financials are benefiting from AI.
Okay.
So they're the second order beneficiaries. Plus they're getting the green light to build on the blockchain, which could really make JP Morgan and Goldman's business models so much more profitable and change their multiples, expand them. So I think, yes, I'm still bullish on AI, but I actually think the financials are really one of the legs that drive us the next 12 to 24 months.
Oh, interesting. No matter what the Fed does from here, I mean, does the rate picture matter for the bank stocks?
It does, because it helps. It provides the liquidity to sort of liquefy housing and corporate lending and bring spreads down. But I think the financial sector has produced visible earnings growth for a long time through these cycles, and they are trading like cyclical stocks. JP Morgan and Goldman should maybe have tech multiples. And so I think there's upside for financials.
Well, I mean, they're aside from when the broadening started to happen on the idea of rate cuts, those were the type of stocks already that were leading this market along with the mega caps. This is a large cap stock rally.
Yes.
Right? I mean, industrials,
Correct.
the biggest names out of the industrials, the biggest names out of the financials, the biggest names in tech, we're leading the way.
Yes.
You think that continues?
Yes, and because, at the end of the day, when you look at GDP, for every unit of economic activity, there's one unit of financial. So financials are half the economy, but they're not half the index. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get to half the index, but they really should re-rate. I mean, I think what we're, even this quarter, right, the numbers from JP Morgan, Goldman, and the financials, and look at the bullish IPO, these are all good signs to me that you want to be overweight financial.
Interesting. Talking about financials there, you don't hear too many people that are extremely bullish on the stock market talk about buying financials, right? Like, that's not a trade you hear too often. Now, I've stayed away from financials for the last few years because, honestly, even people that have been working in the financial industry say that they're hard to understand. Like, they're hard to evaluate risk. So I haven't bought something like JP Morgan in years. I might have bought them last in like 2022, but you can see here it's trading at a price to earnings of just 15. That's pretty low, especially considering their net income has been growing pretty consistently, I'd say, since 2008. I mean, 5 billion to 58 billion. So over the last 10 years, growing at 10% a year. And they most likely will continue to grow as the economy grows. I mean, this is, I don't want to say quasi-government, but it kind of is. I don't think JP Morgan's going to go under or that the government will allow that as the largest bank in the U.S. Dividend growth, 12% a year. EPS growth at 14% a year. So they're getting more efficient as time goes on. They're buying back their own shares. Kind of an interesting option. But going back to the title of the video, Tom Lee is talking about Nvidia today as maybe the most important company in the world to watch. And I've said that for a while too, as the largest company, as the quickest growing company. You have to pay attention to it because it gives you an idea for obviously the largest company that's weighting down all the indices, but it also gives you an idea of the future bullishness of the market. Because if they come out and say, we're seeing demand slow, that could make people re-rate growth of other companies too when they're planning on getting good ROI on all this CapEx spend. This does affect crypto as well. Obviously, traditional markets and crypto are linked these days. If there's some big collapse in stock prices, I can't imagine Bitcoin's going to go on a massive run that day. So everyone will be watching this, whether you're in crypto or not, or in traditional markets or not. RSI has come down a lot. When we look at the 1 day here, the RSI is down to 42 on Bitcoin, and we're at 112,000. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Again, if you want to check out the link to BYDeFi, it's underneath the video. BTCC, BLOFIN, BitUniX, and WEEX are also underneath the video. I use multiple exchanges. I think you probably should too. Also, if you do want to check out my Telegram, I have videos there. I have videos there that are exclusive, and I just posted a video that's going to go up this weekend, but it's there already if you want to check it out. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.